Hi guys, welcome to my entry for the autumn collaboration for crafters in 2024. So here you're going to see me make a tray. I'm using Let's Resin Epoxy resin, some beautiful glitters by Rolio. I've got a real sort of dusty white glitter there, it's beautiful, and also a lovely bronzy browny autumnal one. It's absolutely gorgeous. I am also using some glitters from Temu and also this beautiful Let's Resin mica powder from the 36 mica powder set. I'm also using one of my favourite trays from my most favourite mould company, is the mould from Moulds and Shapes. This is the tray mould, it's the large one I believe, but I'll pop that down in the comments just in case you are interested. It absolutely phenomenal mould. I couldn't be any happier with the ones that I do have from them. So here you can just see all the glitters and the pigments that I'm using in today's tray. And I will also be using window clings to create the design. I absolutely love using window clings in epoxy resin creations. So just showing you there the mould that I was talking about, absolutely beautiful. So mixing up part A and part B of my epoxy resin, mixed up 3 ounces of A, 3 ounces of B. This is a 1-to-1 resin, so using 6 ounces of resin. This was a little too much, so I did make some extra little pieces, which I'll show on another video. I've sped the stirring up here. You do need to stir for about 3 minutes, or minimum 3 minutes, making sure you scrape the sides and the bottom as you go. Decanted into a smaller cup here, a nice paper cup so that it's easier to pour, and added in the glitters. These are the ones from Temu. They're a little stack. They've got some lovely autumn colours, glitters, and there's even some trees in there. I'm then using this one for the first time. Just see me unpeel this Rolio pigment, I say glitter even, sorry, and give it a good mix. This is sped up, of course. I'm not stirring it this fast because I would be introducing far too many air bubbles, but just getting all the right glitters in to make sure that it is exactly how I want. Glitter is everybody's own perception of what's beautiful and what's too much or not enough. I don't think there's enough. I don't think it can ever be too much, but it does have its place at times. So here, just adding in some final little pieces, give it a final stir before I get ready to pour it into the rim. So this is going to go into the rim of the tray. This isn't going to fill the whole tray. Oh, I thought I was done. Clearly not. So again, a bit more stirring. I think I'm done here. Surely. Maybe? Oh. Yeah, I am. You see what I'm using there, that silver, it's a cake board. Just makes it easier to be able to keep it nice and level and be able to move it afterwards. So I've got it on my levelling table on a pink silicone mat, and then that cake board just makes it so easy. I keep the wrap on them, so again I can pick off any dried resin, but also I use them time and time again. I absolutely love it. So just pouring this into the rim, trying to be really careful not to make too much mess. That isn't always possible. I do spill a few things, but it's really, really easy with a tool just to be able to pop that back into the rim and clean that up really nice and easily. So I do try and do this as steady as possible. You can see there, just a bit of a drip there. So just make sure that I pinch that cup again and then continue to go around and get that into the rim nicely. So I don't want to go into the main body of the mould. I just want to make sure that that rim is nice and full and packed with all that lovely glitter that's gone in. And then what will happen is I will leave this to cure and wait 6 hours, I believe, before I went on to my next step. But before I let it cure, just went round with a stick, just cleaning up and just making sure there was no trapped air in the 90-degree angles of that tray, because that's where air bubbles absolutely love to collect. So here I am using the mica powder from Let's Resin. This is another 4 ounces of epoxy resin, so it's 2 and 2 of the Let's Resin standard epoxy. I'm just adding in the mica powder and giving it a nice mix. You need to make sure that when you are mixing a mica powder that you do give it a good mix, because it can clump. And don't do what I do, we do it over the mould. But yeah, I was feeling particularly brave, shall we say, and using that lovely glitter again from Rolio. It is just amazing. I've gone through so much of it, I don't think you can buy it on its own, so I might have to buy like the whole set again just for that one. I do love their pigments, I love them, and use them in conjunction with the Let's Resin ones on a regular basis. So spread this up here, really not stirring it this fast. Love what mica powder does when you lay it into a mould. It just creates some amazing patterns, and there's so many effects that you can do. And I would say that this, what I'm doing today, is very beginner friendly in terms of a project. It is in different steps, and you don't have to do a tray in different steps. You could just pour it all in one colour, but I particularly wanted to have that nice glittery rim and then a neutral base to be able to lay my designs onto. Once that this next layer was cured, I did leave this one overnight. I did keep going back and making sure that I had no air bubbles trapped around the edges, just to make sure that it come out really, really nicely. You can always sand down edges and things if you do get some trapped air bubbles, but it's always better to try it and get it right the first time, and that doesn't always happen, but on this occasion I was very, very pleasantly surprised. So this was left overnight so that it could cure completely, and it was then when I was able to do the next step. Always make sure that you do cover your resin with something, because it doesn't matter how clean or whatever your house is, there will always be odd bits of dust or a fly or a hair, especially if you've got pets that can fly in. You will be surprised. A bit of glitter, so if you've used glitter, it will find its way. So I always make sure that I do cover. In fact, on this one, rather than putting a cover on it, what I actually did was put it underneath my leveling table. So just demoulding this, and it comes away beautifully from the mould, and I'm so pleased that I've got no air bubbles. That glitter has really complemented that back colour of, I think it's eggshell, of the Let's Resin mica powder. Here I'm using window clings, and I've got these from Amazon. I bought these actually for a different part of the design on these, for there was some beautiful autumnal gonks, but I decided on this tray that I really wanted to go really simple because I'd used so much glitter, and that was a bit of a star of the show, that I just thought I would put down some variations of pumpkins and use those. What I would say if you are using window clings is you have to be very, very careful not to get air trapped underneath. So I lay them down really carefully, and especially where they overlap, because where it's overlapped it doesn't stick to each other as well as what it sticks to the resin. Where the cling sticks to the resin, it sticks beautifully. So just go over here with a cotton bud just to really, really burnish that down, making sure there's no air. And if you look at different lights, you can see if there's an air bubble trapped, and then you can just push that out. And using a cotton bud really is the easiest and the safest way. I've got all different sort of tools, to scrapers and whatnot, but I do find that this is the easiest way, and it just stops any scratches because it's nice and soft. So just going over it with my fingers, pushing out any last air, and I am ready then to mix up my final level of epoxy resin. I meant layer. Added in a little tiny bit of that glitter from Rolio into that resin, just to lay as a top coat, because of course these clings would just peel off. So I'm adding, I think it was 2 ounces of epoxy resin, again the same Let's Resin epoxy that I've used all the way through. Just laying a really thin covering, because I still want it to be a tray, so I don't want it to end up being level with the top of the tray. So as little as I could get in, so it was nice and level without any retractions, because resin when it cures does pull back, so you need to make sure you've got a little bit more than what you think you might need, so that you don't get any fish eyes and retraction back. And I leave this to cure for 12 hours, and in a second you will see the final result. There's not much of a reveal because it is, you can see it there on the screen, but I love it. I'm in love with window clings. Let me know what you think.